The first opening build order using engineering assistance that I want to show you is the dual assisted 7 Pgen second land, 9 Pgen third air on Abhor. Abhor is a map made by Bias and it is quite a unique and fun map because it has a lot of mass reclaim around your starting position, and this mass reclaim is quite safe. So you can reclaim it while your NGs are in the water, and there's pretty much no risk of these NGs getting killed. That is why you get this very fast scale of land units, and you still get competitive air timing from dual assisting your ACU in the construction of the third air. So this build was made by Turan Turambar. Congratulations with this build order. I think it's the best I've ever seen on Abhor, and that's why I'm sharing it. So the first NG is going for some rock reclaim on the way to the first pond with the tank reclaim, and the second NG is going to assist the ACU. And the next NG is doing the same as the first NG, except towards the bottom. So at the bottom there's also some rock reclaim on the way to a pond with tank wreckages inside. And the engineer number 4 is again assisting the ACU. And once you have 2 NGs assisting, well, that's a dual assist build, and you want to overbuild power generators. So you want to get at least 1 extra Pgen for each assisting NG, and that's how you can afford them. And as long as you have the mass reclaim from the ponds, your setup is not going to power or mass stall thanks to the extra Pgens you're getting. Basically, after the first NG reclaims, the second assists, the next NG reclaims, and the next assists, you want to have all remaining NGs expanding, and those NGs that are expanding should be protected by tanks. So there's 1 NG going right, and the land factory is going to make a tank next. This tank is not going to be for the NG on the right, but the NG on the top right. That's way more exposed. And then there's going to be another NG headed left. This NG gets protected by a tank and a scout again. And well, later on you can build NGs to construct the hydro. I think I'm using my second land factory that's opening with some engineers instead of tanks to build the hydro. And well, with the hydropower, the mass reclaim, and these early factories, you can do pretty much anything. So thanks to the assisted third air, you can fight against second air reasonably well, if anybody actually prioritizes air so much. Just open fighter first, or well, if you want to be risky, you can also open bomber first. But if you expect a second air, you would open fighter first on the third air to shoot it down before it kills your stuff, or after like the first dodge. And as for the rest of this game, you pretty much just want to like eco up and tech up as soon as you have more than 50% map control, because this build order can give you more than 50% map control super easily. Just hold the 2 land bridges and try to like deny one of the expansions on either side so your opponent can't get it, and your AC goes middle. As long as it doesn't get swarmed there and you have some scouting, you are quite safe there. And your relatively fast air can also like get the transport to take extra reclaim and nexus on the plateaus. These are good radar spots as well. So this is a pretty insane build. I like to be UEF on this map because I can quickly stop making T1 and just go for a full scale T2 setup. Condition is of course that I get some T2 nexus, build some extra Pgens, switch one of the factories into NGs, and that assists the HQ in the upgrade and in the construction of the first couple of units. But this is not too difficult to get, especially on this map. So have fun with this build. Bermuda is another one of those maps with a lot of mass reclaim. The difference to Abhor is that the mass reclaim is not only around your starting position, but it's across the entire map. It's everywhere. It's well, about 50,000 mass distributed on this map, and it's a quite large map. 20 times 20 kilometer with Navy. So on this map you wanna pretty much go for a second air transport first or an airlock. If you go for airlock, shoot down the enemy transport and get your own transport. If you go for second air transport first, you want to make sure the enemy can't shoot down your transport, and then you pretty much just like try to get the expansion as fast as possible, the closest expansion to you. And as soon as you have that, you set up a large-scale spam, try to get somewhat fast Navy at the same time, and this is how you are in a good position with around 50% map control. The ACU on this map goes left to sort of put an end to Team on land units trying to flood your expansion on the left, because most of the time your opponent is going to do the same thing as you, or something that tries to counter what you're doing. And a common element of any build on Bermuda is spam in the closest expansion to you. That's why the ACU needs to be there, and I like to assign a long queue just to go there and like not worry about the ACU for the next couple of minutes. But I haven't explained what the build actually does. So this is a transport rush build. You can apply the same build to airlock and just make scouts and fighters as instead of the transport, and send them to the enemy to shoot down their transport, and then you make your own transport. So both works. Airlock more difficult to pull off than a fast transport, because you cannot miss the enemy transport. If you do, then the transport just lands and you don't have your transport. The enemy gets a faster expansion and you're out of the game pretty much. So if you go for airlock, make sure you know what you're doing. Get that scout to spot the transport, get your fighters there, shoot on the transport before it lands, and so on. But regardless of whether you're going airlock or second air transport first, you're going to need 10 pigeons. And what I did here is the following. I just went for one NG that reclaims early on, and the ACU doesn't build any starting mixes. No core mixes built by the ACU. This is to speed up the transport, so the ACU just queues up the land factory, 10 power generators, and the air factory. The first NG reclaims, the second NG assists the ACU, and then I have two engineers assisting the factory, the land factory that's building engineers. And the first NG after the two assisting NGs built by that factory is going to reclaim again. And then you pretty much send all NGs to assist the ACU until it has 10 pigeons and the air factory. And when the air factory completes, the ACU keeps building pigeons. I think it's 5 for naval factories and some land factories in the expansion. And to afford the power spam, I'm queuing up. So this is just something I found out by trial and error. I didn't actually do the math. And the NGs assist the air factory instead of like keeping the assistance on the ACU. You assist the air factory as soon as the transport starts. You put them inside the transport, and the transport takes off, drops at the closest expansion, drops 3 NGs there. 2 of them are building factories. 1 of them is reclaiming, and the other 3 NGs go well, to the same side, but further up top. And you do the same there. So you're going to have 2 NGs building factories, 1 NG reclaiming. And when the NGs are done building factories, they can build mixes. You can also make early NGs from the factories instead of early tanks and build mixes with these. So it's sort of up to you what exactly you're going to do. The engineers that have been reclaiming in the core early on ran out of reclaim, and they get switched to power spam instead, which is very important. If you don't build power on this map, or you don't build power with tons of NGs on this map, you're going to power stall so hard that you can lose the game just because of the power stall. So make sure you have many engineers building power. You want to constantly watch your eco bars and pretty much flexibly assign NGs in between a reclaim, a power, and build power. So it's important that you get a lot of power spam, that you get a lot of reclaim, that you get a lot of build power, and that you have like decent timing on the Navy, I'd say, and a lot of land spam in the expansion. Air is sort of an alibi on this map. You don't want to have too much air because air costs a ton of power, and I'd argue that typically this power is better off invested into tanks and navy, because power is really a bottleneck here. And if you put it into air and you have air control, and then you don't have power to actually build offensive air after that, then the enemy tanks and ships are just going to kill you. So try to get just enough air to not completely lose to enemy bombing and dropping, but don't try to get too much air, I think, because there's sort of like, if the enemy drops you, there's sort of no way to prevent that on this map. The map is just too large. There's too much unscouted area that's going to remain unscouted for the entire game. And even if you have like T2 radars later on, the enemy will still sneak in some drops, simply because your fighters are going to be in a different place and they won't arrive there in time to shoot down the drop by the time you see it. So don't rely on air as a defense. Rather try to like later on get your own drops against the enemy, because your enemy is going to be in the same situation. The map is mostly dark, and if a drop comes, they will only spot it once it's too late. And then it comes down to the positioning of the land units and to offensive air units, whether the dropped units can be killed. And this is sort of how it works. The key takeaway from this opening build order is that you can use mass reclaim to speed up your transport or your airlock. So just get Pgens and NGs, but don't build mixes. This is how you save some time for whatever airlock or transport you're getting. And of course, make up for the mass difference by reclaiming. Let us take a look at another team map. People have been asking me how to eco-whore on Canis. Canis is a map that has a lot of rock reclaim around your starting position. You've seen that you can use the mass reclaim for getting a large-scale land production. You can use it to speed up your airlock or your transport. But these are not the only applications. You can also just use the mass reclaim around your starting position to get fast assisted T2 mixes. And this is what this build is going to do. It is a Hydro 6 Pgen assisted second max third air build. So the first NG is going to build the Hydro. The ACU after 4 maxes is going to assist. This is the standard Hydro rush. And then the first NG and the ACU together build 6 power generators. So why 6? Well, because this is a build that uses land and air. You need the Hydro and 2 power generators just to operate these factories. Then you need 1 extra power generator because the NG and the ACU are building the things together rather than just having the ACU build everything. And then that leaves 3 power generators for the second mix. So the T2 mass extractor upgrade that comes after the land factory. That's why it's called second mix. And this makes sense because the mass extractor upgrade costs 60 power per second. Then this build is going to get additional assisting engineers that try to speed up the construction of this second mix. And they are going to be financed by low amounts of tree reclaim and the ACU leaving the base for the expansion. The ACU has to be in the expansion anyway. It's across the river. You need to hold that. So the ACU needs to go. And if you overbuild the power generators to afford engineering assistance for your ACU, then you can just as well, or well, you should leave the base with your ACU, and instead of assisting the ACU with an NG, you would just have 3 NGs or 4 NGs build all that stuff. And that is essentially the same as the cost of assisting the ACU with 1 NG and building the stuff with that. So again, the assisting NGs are financed by the ACU leaving the base and by low amounts of tree reclaim, and this is how this build is going to work out. So I'm going to have 3 engineers reclaiming. They are on manual reclaim, and use movement orders to make sure that they can use their reclaim range ideally. And this is going to get reclaimed fast. So you can see that at times this build is well, about to overflow mass. When that happens, I take an energy away from reclaiming rocks, and instead I switch it into the construction of a mix, which is at least a temporary relief for the high mass income that is getting too high. And after, it can go back into reclaiming rocks. So just watch those eco bars, try not to overflow, and as soon as you can afford it, get the mass extractor upgrades. So after the second mix, the air factory is being built, and at the same time the next mass extractor upgrade is already started. And pretty much all remaining engineers you're getting are being distributed across power spam, the assistance of mass extractor upgrades, and reclaim. The goal of this build is to get good mass income and solid power income. You can put this into an ACU upgrade, T2 air, or a fast T3 max. So this is going to be situational, but all three applications work out. If you get pressured a lot, you can get an ACU upgrade to stall your opponent. If your opponent overextends and you can tell in advance, then you want to go for an air snipe on your opponent. And if your opponent is extremely passive, it might be best to use the eco advantage you already have, magnify it even more, and get the T3 max. I hope that seeing examples of builds that use early tree and mass reclaim to scale up and speed up the starting build order encourages you to sandbox your own openings and become the good player you're meant to be. Subscribe for more and let me know in the comments if you have any questions.